Tooth eruption is basically the movement of a tooth from where it develops inside the jawbone to its final position in the mouth, the point where it meets the opposing tooth in the bite, also known as the occlusal position. Now, even though this sounds like a simple process, the exact mechanism behind tooth eruption is still not fully understood. The most accepted idea today is that the fibers of the periodontal ligament, the tissue that surrounds and supports the tooth, tighten and contract as they mature, creating the force that helps the tooth move upward. But over time, several other theories have tried to explain how eruption happens. These include the root elongation theory, which says eruption happens as the root grows longer. The pulp theory, focusing on pressure changes inside the tooth. The genetic theory, suggesting eruption is controlled by our genes. The hammock ligament theory, now mostly outdated. The vascular theory, which highlights the role of blood pressure in the tissues. The alveolar bone growth theory, linking eruption to bone formation around the tooth. And the follicular theory, which emphasizes the role of the dental follicle, the tissue surrounding the developing tooth. No single theory explains eruption completely, but together they help us understand the possible factors involved. The process of eruption is similar for both primary and permanent teeth. The only main difference is that when a permanent tooth erupts, it causes the root of the primary tooth above it to resorb, which is why primary teeth eventually become loose and fall out. According to William R. Prophet, tooth eruption happens in two main stages: pre-emergent eruption and post-emergent eruption. Pre-emergent eruption. In this first stage, the tooth is still inside the bone. It moves slowly from its place of development toward the surface, until it finally breaks through the gum. So, this phase covers everything from the tooth's initial movement in the bone to the point where it just starts to appear in the mouth. Post-emergent eruption. Once the tooth has pierced the gum, it enters the post-emergent phase. This stage has three smaller parts. Post-emergent spurt. Here, the tooth moves quickly upward. This rapid movement continues until it reaches the level where it meets the opposing tooth, the occlusal plane. Juvenile occlusal equilibrium. After that, the eruption slows down. During childhood and adolescence, as the jaws grow vertically, especially the lower jaw, teeth continue to erupt slightly to keep up with that growth. This steady adjustment helps maintain the bite. If a tooth becomes ankylosed, it can't follow this adjustment, and that difference becomes quite noticeable. Adult occlusal equilibrium. Finally, once growth stops after puberty, we enter the adult phase. Even then, teeth continue to erupt very slowly over time. This happens when there's no opposing tooth, for example if one is missing, or to compensate for gradual wear of the tooth surfaces. Nola developed in about 1960 a classification system for the development of permanent teeth. He divided each tooth's maturation into 10 stages, from the very beginning through crown formation, root development, to full root apex closure. It is typically used with radiographs to estimate dental age, plan orthodontic, pediatric treatments, or in forensic contexts. Stage 0. Absence of crypt. At this stage, there's no visible tooth crypt. The tooth hasn't started forming yet. Stage 1. Presence of crypt. The crypt appears in the jawbone, but no calcification has begun. Stage 2. Initial calcification. Small mineral spots appear, the very first sign of crown formation. Stage 3. 1/3 of crown completed. About 1/3 of the crown is formed, and the tooth shape starts to take form. Stage 4. 2/3 of crown completed. 2/3 of the crown is now mineralized, and the enamel cap is shaping up. Stage 5. Crown almost completed. The crown is almost done, just a bit more enamel formation to go. Stage 6. Crown completed. The crown is fully formed. Now the root begins to develop. Stage 7. 1/3 of root completed. 1/3 of the root has formed beneath the finished crown. Stage 8. 2/3 of root completed. Root development continues, reaching about 2/3 of its full length. Stage 9. Root almost completed. Open apex. The root is nearly complete, but the tip, or apex, is still open. Stage 10. Apical end of root completed. And finally, the apex closes. The root is fully developed and the tooth is mature. So basically, tooth eruptive movements begin during the 6th stage, when the crown formation is complete. After 2 to 3 years, with 2/3 of root formation complete, tooth erupts into the oral cavity. Let's take a quick look at the chronology of human dentition, when our teeth form, erupt, and complete their roots, for both primary and permanent teeth. Primary dentition. Primary teeth start forming before birth and finish developing by about 3 years of age. Maxillary. The central incisor begins hard tissue formation at 4 months in utero. Enamel completes at 1.5 months. Eruption happens at 7.5 months, and roots finish by 1.5 years. The lateral incisor starts at 4.5 months in utero, completes enamel at 2.5 months, erupts at 9 months, and roots finish at 2 years. The cuspid, canine, starts at 5 months in utero, enamel finishes at 9 months, erupts at 18 months, and roots complete by 3.5 years. The first molar begins at 5 months in utero, completes enamel at 6 months, erupts at 14 months, and finishes roots by 2.5 years. The second molar starts forming at 6 months in utero. Enamel completes at 11 months, erupts around 24 months, and roots complete by 3 years. Mandibular. The central incisor forms at 4.5 months in utero, enamel completes at 2.5 months, erupts at 6 months, and roots finish by 1.5 years. The lateral incisor begins at 4.5 months in utero, enamel completes at 3 months, erupts at 7 months, and roots complete by 1.5 years. The cuspid starts at 5 months in utero, enamel completes at 9 months, erupts at 16 months, and roots finish at 3.5 years. The first molar starts at 5 months in utero, enamel completes at 6 months, erupts at 12 months, and roots finish by 2.5 years. The second molar starts at 6 months in utero, enamel completes at 10 months, erupts at 20 months, and roots complete by 3 years. Permanent dentition. Permanent teeth replace the primary ones and continue forming until the late teens. Maxillary. Central incisor. Hard tissue forms at 3 to 4 months, enamel completes by 4 to 5 years, erupts at 7 to 8 years, and roots finish by 10 years. Lateral incisor. Formation starts at 10 to 12 months, enamel completes by 4 to 5 years, erupts at 8 to 9 years, and roots finish by 11 years. Cuspid. Starts at 4 to 5 months, enamel completes at 6 to 7 years, erupts at 11-12 years, and roots finish by 13-15 years. First premolar. Starts at 1.5 years, enamel completes by 5 to 6 years, erupts at 10-11 years, and roots complete by 12 to 13 years. Second premolar. Begins at 2 to 2.5 years, enamel completes by 6 to 7 years, erupts at 10 to 12 years, and roots complete by 12 to 14 years. First molar. Begins at birth, enamel completes at 3 to 4 years, erupts at 6 to 7 years, and roots finish by 9 to 10 years. Second molar. Forms at 2.5-3 years, enamel completes at 7 to 8 years, erupts at 12 to 13 years, and roots finish by 14 to 16 years. Mandibular. Central incisor. Starts at 3 to 4 months, enamel completes at 4 to 5 years, erupts at 6 to 7 years, and roots finish by 9 years. Lateral incisor. Starts at 3 to 4 months, enamel completes at 4 to 5 years, erupts at 7 to 8 years, and roots finish by 10 years. Cuspid. Begins at 4-5 months, enamel completes by 6-7 years, erupts at 9-10 years, and roots complete by 12-13 years. First premolar begins at 1.5–2 years, enamel completes by 5–6 years, erupts at 10 to 12 years, and roots finish by 12–13 years. Second premolar starts at 2–2.5 years, enamel completes at 6 to 7 years, erupts at 11 to 12 years, and roots finish by 13 to 14 years. First molar starts at birth, enamel completes by 3 years, erupts at 6–7 years, and roots finish by 9–10 years. Second molar begins at 2.5–3 years, enamel completes by 7 to 8 years, erupts at 11–13 years, and roots finish by 14–15 years. So, to sum it up, primary teeth form before birth and finish around age 3, while permanent teeth start forming soon after birth and continue developing until the late teens. This chart helps dentists track normal growth and detect any dental delays early,